live on the Facebook. All right. Good evening, everybody. Hello, 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 and welcome to b.hive Productions Apocalypse Humpday, the zombie saga. We are on night 24. Night 24. That means we've been doing this for 8 months. 8 months now. We've been talking about the apocalypse. If you are just joining us, if you're new here, what we do is every Wednesday night I read a short story. Hola, Senor Walzer. We or I read you a short story that I have written regarding the apocalypse. And we have moved all the way into my zombie novel, Zechariah 14:12. And let me see. Let me grab it here. This is it right here. I don't know if you can see. Man, that light is just blinding. Anyhow, that's the book right there. I wrote it in and published it 2012. Hello, Stephanie. And welcome to my other drones here. And we are almost done with the book. We are on chapter 24 tonight. And there's 27 chapters in the book. So, yeah, we're going to be wrapping this up. And as always, I like to add a little something extra about zombies or some kind of zombie trivia or zombie jokes. And tonight, I'm going to give you the 8 signs that you are definitely turning into a zombie. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a caveat here. After reading them over, I fall into 7 of the 8 categories on here. So, I got this off of BuzzFeed. So, here we go. 8 signs that you're definitely turning into a zombie. Number 1, you look, walk, and sound like everyone else. Literally. Number 2, you're often part of a lumbering, slow-moving crowd. Which, yeah, definitely go to a mall. And there we are. Or an amusement park, for that matter. Or school, or anything else, yeah. Number 3, you swarm en masse to loud, droning noises. Like concerts. Or, yeah, whatever. Number 4, you go out of your way to eat organic food. Well, okay, I don't actually go out of my way to eat organic food, but I would prefer it over GMOs, and that's an argument all in itself. But, you know who else only eats organic food? Yeah, undead hordes, because you can't get any more organic than internal organs. Number 5, you can't tear yourself away from loud, obnoxious spectacles. Or you can't tear yourself away from your phone. I see a lot of that. This is what I see a lot of. Everywhere I go. And in fact, I do it myself, and I get involved in these stupid mobile games that have no point, and I fall into a frickin' rabbit hole, and I don't stop. Number 6 of the 6th sign that you're definitely turning into a zombie. You suffer from achy joints and stiff, lifeless limbs. Steph. I'm gonna wake up and she's gonna be chewing on my brain. So, anyhow, number 7, you're lethargic, unmotivated, and say things like, I'm just not myself until I've had my coffee. That is definitely me. because I'm very lethargic and unmotivated to do anything. Unless I have coffee, although I did twice last week. I went to work before I had coffee, and that was not a good thing. And the last sign that you are definitely turning into a zombie, and it's pretty self-explanatory. You often find yourself eating human entrails. So yeah, there you go. And hopefully I don't wake up with Steph chewing on my small intestine. Right, Chuck? Yeah, that is called old age, buddy. Exactly. I've been feeling that. Speaking of old age, I am getting a year older tomorrow. I'll be 54, and I sometimes feel like I'm about 84, but yeah, I'm not doing bad for a 54-year-old guy, I don't think. So, anyhow, when we last hung out with our survivors from the zombie apocalypse in my world, we visited with the president last week, and he was not coping very well with what was going on. His plane ran out of gas, and they had to land at Sac Air Force Base in Bellevue, Nebraska, and which is a southern suburb of Omaha. And yeah, he had the Navy SEALs there and his Secret Service, and shit was going down, and he couldn't take it anymore. And then he saw his wife and daughters, who had been infected, walking the runway. So he painted the plane with his brain. Ain't it a shame? Look at that, I'm a poet. Didn't even know it. Oh, yeah, I'm a pup, huh? I'm just a pup. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you two agree. So, I don't feel like a pup sometimes, and yeah, I can't even lift my legs half the time, so I don't know what's going on with me. I think it's the sciatica. But I did get my invite emails to join AARP, which I might do simply to get myself a little insulated lunch bag they got there, and that's kind of cool. So see, there's a sign of old age right there. So, in saying that, the Bible says that gray hair is a crown of knowledge. So I'm thinking, if you got gray hair up here, that means you're smart. If you have gray hair all around here, that means you're a smart mouth. Look at me. Boom. Boom. And Kevin, you're gray all over, so yeah. I don't know what to tell you, buddy. Anyhow, let's get into this book. And anyhow, for my birthday, cheers. I'm drinking myself a little bit of this spiced Coke. It's not alcoholic. I don't know why they call it spiced, but it has a raspberry flavors in there, and it's pretty good. Yeah, both, Chuck. That means you're a very intelligent, smart mouth. That's what that means. All right. Salud, everybody. Let's get it on. Chapter 24. Len had blacked out on the trek back to the fairgrounds. All of them, save Doble, were brought immediately to the infirmary to be checked out. Doble had brought Lee and Catherine over to see their mother. The reunion was heart-wrenching, and for the first time since his wife died 3 years ago, Hank Doble cried. Because of Len's bite, he was quarantined to the isolation fenced-off area and strapped to the cot. His kids stood by the gate crying, wanting to hold his hand and make sure that he was okay. Kris immediately took a blood sample from her husband, cleaned his wound, and gave him heavy doses of antibiotics. "What do you think?" Hank asked her. I don't know, she said, concentrating on the sample she took under the microscope. It was only a dog bite, but those dogs, they'd been feeding on the infected body for God knows how long. God damn it, he muttered to himself. You really cared about my husband, didn't you? Well, of course. He's a good man. He would do whatever it took to keep those kids alive and safe. It's not fair that he should be strapped to a cot like that. Kris, Len uttered from his cot. They both turned around to see him struggling with his straps. Take it easy, man, Hank said with a reassuring smile. We're just making sure you're clean. I thought it was just a dog bite. It was, Kris said, running her fingers through his hair and dabbing at the sweat on his forehead with a damp cloth. But those dogs, well, they've been feeding on those things out there for I don't know how long. Daddy! The kids called from the other side of the fence. Do they know? He whispered to Kris. Only that you got bit by a dog, she whispered back. Hey, girlies, he smiled back at them. Why are you in there, Dad? Lee asked. I might have rabies. Both the girls looked at each other in confusion, and then at their mom. He doesn't have rabies, kids. Your father is just joking. Dad, they groaned. I'm going to take the kids back to the arena, Kris said, standing up from his bed. You try to get some sleep. Sleep? Len said with a bit of anger. How the hell am I supposed to sleep with these straps on me? You know how much I like to move around. I thought you'd like being tied to the bed. Oh, now, that's just mean. I'll come back in an hour to check on you. She kissed him and went out to the kids. They said goodbye and left with her. Len looked over and saw a teenage girl who had come in with Kris. She was getting a few cuts cleaned up. Beside her was the soldier that was also with them. He had been glancing over at Len occasionally and then look away when Len looked back. Hey, Len hollered over to him. Hey, Brent? Brent looked at him nervously. Come here, man. I need to talk to you. Brent went through the gate, latched it, and then walked hesitantly to Len's bed. There were no other patients locked in quarantine. Hi, Brent said nervously. Hey, I'd like to shake your hand, man, but as you can see, I'm a little tied up. Brent uttered a small laugh. I wanted to thank you for saving my wife. You took her out of that mess even though she'd been bitten. I can't thank you enough for what you did. I'm just doing my duty, sir. Don't call me sir. I don't deserve that. The whole world has gone to shit and you stepped up. I don't know if I could do that for a stranger. My kids and I are grateful to you more than you'll ever know. Brent grabbed his secured hand and squeezed. He went out and left for the arena with the teenager. Len thought he saw a bit of guilt in the boy's face, but he dismissed it and tried to sleep. He thanked me, Brent said to Kris as they were walking towards the commons area of the arena with Lee, Catherine, and Kyla. Well, of course he did, Kris said without looking at him. That's my husband. That's why I married him. I saw you looking at a blood sample you took from him. She didn't say anything. Kris? What? She snapped. Well, what did you find? I'm not a biologist. I don't know what I found. He grabbed her arm. I know you're not a biologist, but you obviously know something, or you wouldn't have looked at it to begin with. She pulled her arm from his grip. How dare you ask me that in front of my kids, she hissed. It's reality. I think my kids have had enough reality for right now, okay? Just then, someone grabbed Brent by his wounded shoulder. Falcone! It was one of the soldiers. Becker? Brent slowly recognized him. Becker! Jesus Christ, man, what the hell? I haven't seen you since the desert. He watched Kris walk away with her kids and Kyla to the commons. Each of her kids was on both sides of her, helping her walk. Excuse me. It was Todd Shoemaker. Yeah? Brent didn't recognize him. I was wondering if Hal was with you. No, man. He got shot. Gut shot by this psycho cult we ran into. I'm sorry. Was he a friend of yours? Sort of. Todd's shoulders slumped. Spoke with him on the radio. I was hoping I'd get to meet him. I'm really sorry, man. He was a good guy. Hated to lose him. He saved my ass a few times out there. Todd excused himself and went back into the radio room. Brent didn't know what to say to him. So, it got pretty rough out there, huh? Becker said. Huh? Brent focused back on his friend. Yeah. Well, you know, this crazy dude with his own church. Nemmers, I think his name was. Guy was really... He thought about the Reverend drooling blood into his mouth. This is my blood. Drink it in remembrance of me. He thought about how he ripped his ragged lips off his own face. This is my body. Eat it in remembrance of me. The guy was just fucking out there. He had a whole flock just as crazy. Well, I'm glad you made it. Thanks. You guys got quite a setup here. It gets hairy at times, but we're faring a lot better than the big cities are. Mankato was a massacre from what I heard. They told me we do sentry duty in shifts here. Yep, I think they have you on with me tomorrow afternoon. Man, you mean we get to sleep? They both laughed like they hadn't in a long time. The kids let Kris nap for a couple hours. She had another nightmare, one that wouldn't let her go until she was shaken awake by Catherine. Mom! Catherine shouted. Kris sat up straight. The nightmare was fading, and instead of trying to remember it, she pushed it as far back as she could. What is it, honey? It's time to eat. Come on. They all sat down in the commons and ate instant potatoes and canned meat, followed with a cup of apples for dessert. Is Dad gonna be okay, Mom? Lee asked, finishing her apples. She didn't know how to answer that question. The blood test she took showed there was a weak remnant of the RAC-V. The virus was reacting like it did in the other samples she had seen when she was working at the hospital. It was present in Len's bloodstream, but it wasn't trying to replicate his cells. In fact, his white blood cells seemed to be winning the battle. I really hope so, Lee, she finally answered. That was a pretty nasty bite your dad took. Hopefully, we cleaned it up on time before it gets infected. Lee wrestled with her next question, and it was visible on her face how tough of a struggle it was for her, because tears welled up in her eyes. It broke Kris's heart to watch. Honey? Kris put her hand on Lee's. Finally, a tear found its way out of her eye. Is Dad... Is he gonna turn into one of those things? Is his dad gonna be a zombie? Oh, honey, these things aren't zombies. She moved across the table to sit next to her, and Catherine, hugging them both. This is an infection, like rabies. So Dad does have rabies, Catherine said. No, your father does not have rabies. Yes, your dad does have this virus. But your father's body is fighting it off and seems to be winning the fight. So, he's not gonna go mad? Lee asked. Her tears were free-flowing now. At the rate he's going right now, I don't think so. But I'm not a scientist, she wanted to finish. Catherine looked down at her leg. Does that hurt? She asked, looking up at her with those big blue eyes. I've gotten used to it, Kris answered. Strange thing is, I feel like it's still there, except for when I try to walk on it. Why did you cut it off? I got bit, honey. I had to either cut it off or... Both of them stared horrified at her. Okay, enough of this morbid talk. She stood up. Come on, guys, let's go play something. Ugh, Lee groaned. I cannot play another game of Uno or I'll puke. Let's play Sorry, Catherine said. A game of Sorry? Kris asked Lee. I guess. And that, my friends, is the end of chapter 24. So yeah, Len has got the Rack V bubbling around in his bloodstream. It's not reacting like it normally does with other people it infects, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see here. We got two chapters to get to before we find out what happens to everybody. So I hope you guys have been enjoying this ride in the world of Zechariah 14:12. I've enjoyed reading it to you guys. I mean, I enjoy reading anything to you guys. So I do have on a new story that I wrote. It's a short story, and it is apocalyptic. So it'll go in the new book. So if we run out of stories here for the apocalypse, then I may read that to you guys. That way you guys get a free preview of the new book. So when we do finish this book, though, we will be reading the diary of Catherine Emerson, which is a sequel to this book. So I was asked to write a sequel, and I started doing research, and I ended up doing research for a prequel instead of a sequel. And I was like, well, crap, no. No, I gotta have a sequel. So I said, well, what happens to the Emersons after the book? And you'll find out with that. So, and because it's a diary being written by a girl, a teenage girl, just turning 14, Stephanie has agreed to read it to you folks. So I'll just do some introductions and stuff like that, and then she'll jump in and she'll read the story to you. So it should be fun. It should be fun for everybody. So anyhow, I am out, and let's see, what do we got going on? Well, tomorrow's my birthday. I don't know what I'm doing for my birthday. I haven't really done anything for my birthday since I was 50, and that was a hella good party. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Coming up on we've got coffee with friends on Sunday, and then on Tuesday, I actually way ahead of time, because I'm usually running to the nail on Tunes for Tuesday, but we're I'm going to be doing some Bruce Springsteen for you folks on next Tuesday, and then we'll be jumping in, of course, to chapter 25 of the zombie apocalypse, Zechariah 14:12, humanity's last stand. So yeah, there we go. And then let's see. Oh, at the last Friday of the month, I'm going to have What's Buzzin' at the Hive, night 7, I think it is. And I'm going to be interviewing my daughter. So, yeah, she's writing a book. It's kind of rewriting a book, but anyhow, it's a really good story. It's a love story she's writing, and I don't normally get into love stories, but she got me to care about the two characters in her book. So yeah, and so we'll be talking to her about her writing processes and stuff like that. It'll be really fun. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you very much. Yes, I always have a happy any birthday I have after 50 is a good birthday. So, yeah, I mean, I survived a couple divorces, survived cancer a couple times, and yeah, so here I am, and I'm still smiling, still breathing, and I'm still a little punchy. So, yeah, I think I'm good. So, thank you guys very much for showing up. Thanks for coming out, all your support, chatting with me on here. And yeah, like and subscribe. Any of my events, my pages, either here, Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. And thanks, Kev. You too, man. You have a good night. Say hi to Katie for me. Yeah, let's let's do this again next week. What do you say, folks? All right. Have a good zombie free week. Love y'all. Mwah. Oh, that's good. Now, if I can just get Coca-Cola to sponsor me, well, that'd be awesome. Peace out.